Hello, you guys, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Music Playbook. Last episode, we had the absolute honor of speaking to the one and only Legacy from this podcast and get his standpoint on what it is to start from the beginning and, what it means to get to where he's at, how to stabilize, how to keep going, all that fun stuff. Today, we're going to have Hyperion. He is a 20-year-old rapper. 20. And this kid has been doing it like if he's been doing it for his whole life. And he's pretty damn good and he's got a lot of accomplishments. So we'll go ahead and get the podcast going and we'll get more insight on his career and what he does in music. Well, Hyperion, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you accepting the invitation to join the podcast. We're going to go ahead and start off, obviously, with like the basics. So to start us off, can you tell us a little about yourself, about your background, where you're from, how you got into music, and what your journey has looked like so far?
Okay, so my name is Hyperion the rapper, and I'm a 20-year-old artist, record label owner, entertainer, lyricist, whatever you want to call it. I'm from Concord, New Hampshire, um, and I just recently moved out here to Florida, and I'm starting a new chapter by living with my producer, Asakai, and we're really focused on team building this year. I've been making music for about 7 years
Wow.
almost,
So you were
since I was
young.
13. Yeah,
Wow.
middle school. And I got into music because I was in a really dark place, just with a lot of family drama. I was dealing with a lot of emotional abuse, and I kind of resorted to music through that. And Logic was like kind of a big advocate in getting me into hip hop and into music in general. And I don't know, I went to a concert one night in November of 2019 during his Confessions of a Dangerous Mind tour, and I woke up the next day and I was like, I want to do music.
Yeah.
So here we are. The rest is history.
Here we are. Real quickly, side note, I just realized you're wearing a Boston Celtics hat and I have my Laker jersey. Of all days, I decided to
Yeah.
wear the Laker jersey. That's
uh,
funny. Anyways, the other me. Anyways, now,
Heavy side eye.
yeah. Okay. At what point did music go from it just being an escape for you to something that you knew you wanted to take seriously?
I would say it was probably around the spring of like 2020. COVID had just happened. I was in the end of my eighth grade year. And yeah,
Every
I had a
episode, I realize
mentor.
how fucking old I am. Anyway, sorry.
And yeah, I was at the end of my eighth grade year. Um, I had a mentor who I got connected with through a teacher that was in my middle school before like the whole pandemic happened. He made music and was local to where I was. He lived in a town called Manchester, which was like 30 minutes from where I lived. So I got in touch with him through social media and he kind of showed me the ropes of like recording music, how to write a song, stuff like that. And I think it was like May 29th, I released my first single, Live Your Life, which is like crazy to listen to now after
Yeah.
like all this music I've made. But um I released that and that was kind of like the point where I was like, man, yeah, like I really want to do this and take this seriously and really just do whatever I can to, elevate myself and build my brand. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I feel like COVID definitely did a lot to a lot of people in different aspects as far as like motivation and kind of helping them. It was such a dark, weird time, but I feel like it got a lot of people to where they need to go. I feel like because I feel the
Yeah.
same way. Now, you're only 20, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like you're moving like in the mindset of someone who's been in the game literally. I mean, you basically, I guess at this point you have literally been in your whole life. Like where does that come, like where does that stem from? Is it just like you mentioned, the where the motivation, like where does that all come from? Like you're moving so like crazy for someone your age. Like it's insane. Like I see the stuff that you do and it's just like
I really appreciate that. You know, I don't know. It's a mixture of a lot of things, I would say. You know, I think both my parents kind of raised me in a sense where, you know, I have more of an old soul because they have taste in a lot of the things that they grew up with, and they really like made sure to put me onto those things, and I fell in love with a lot of those um you know, art forms, and whether it was the music they listened to, the movies they watched, stuff like that. And I think it just taught me a lot of values that maybe like this generation doesn't really tend to notice because, you know, they might have been paying attention to a lot of the stuff that is coming out now. But also, like, you know, I held my idols really close to me. And a lot of the people that I look up to, you know, I keep very close to my circle, and I kind of like looked to them for advice, you know, through my career, through the years and such.
Yeah,
You know, I really asked for lots of advice and pointers, and they kind of really helped mold me into the person I am today,
that's
and
okay.
I'm really grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's a really good answer.
Thank you.
Let's see. Now, going back to the whole age thing, do you feel like because you're so young in the industry right now, do you feel like people take you seriously right away, or do you feel like you have to kind of prove yourself because of your age?
I definitely feel like if they didn't take me seriously like 2 years ago, they're definitely taking me more serious now. Just because of the way that I am like doing things and going about them in a serious way. You know, like I'm not really here to just like get my money and then just dip and then like move on with life. Like I really care about hip hop as a culture and like everything surrounding it. As far as like making an impact and, you know, really showing people like the folks that made me who I am today. And, you know, I'm also just moving in a serious way, you know, like I'm really trying to do everything that I can do for myself like right now.
Yep.
And I think people see that. So to answer your question, I think people are probably taking me serious. I would want to, you know, hope, but
It also comes down to how you hold yourself. You know, like again, you hold yourself to this high, like you're like this is it. Like I am, like I'm doing this. So it's like people feed off of that too. I guess it's what it comes down to, not necessarily age, right? Now, I want to talk about one of your most recent projects that you've dropped. What made you decide a 21 track project instead of like releasing like this, regular projects? Like what was the mindset behind that?
you know, I kind of had this project in my mind like for a couple of years, and I started working on it. I want to say like the beginning of 2023. Um, so I was like 17 at the time, I think, or maybe like 16 going on 17. And, you know, I just had this like really ambitious idea, not only for like, you know, to prove to other people, but to prove to myself that I can like do a double album and make sense of it all. But also like my idea and goal going into it was like to get everybody that I possibly could that I looked up to involved somehow in like some way, shape, or form. And you know, through that process, through the years that it took to finish the album, you know, I made those things happen. Like I flew out to Houston to work with J Mars in 2023. He really helped me evolve my sounds when I went and saw him. And then after that, it was like 2024. You know, I graduated high school. You know, I had more time to focus on investing money into my career and
Career.
getting that
Hmm.
money set aside to, you know, invest into the people I wanted in this album. Um, and then 2025 was really the big year because like I went to New York. I finally met Logic. I worked with Castro out in Minnesota in February. What else did I do? I got Jason Griffith, the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog, on my album. Um,
That's
you
crazy.
know, I got, you know, a track with Six, Logic's producer, for those of you who don't know. We did a bonus track on my project that's part of Castro's upcoming, you know,
Nice
release,
thing.
but
Okay.
he let me release it on my project, just as like a little bonus thing to get people excited. But also for me to be able to do that on my sophomore release, which I was
Yeah.
really grateful for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was just a culmination of all those things. Oh, I also went to Florida too that last year. Um, and I met Ace, and now I'm down here with him. And in December, I moved down here. I dropped everything that I knew, and I said I'm gonna start a new chapter. I was 19 then. I'm just turned 20 this month, but yeah,
That's
it's crazy. I don't know.
that's actually really crazy. Yeah. Did you have any concerns of like, I mean, in this day and age, obviously people have such short attention spans with like short form content and TikTok and like, did you have any concerns with like people being able to sit down and like concentrate on a full 21 song project?
That was that was definitely something I was thinking about when I was making it, but like at the same time, I was like, more than anything, even if the people don't like sit through the whole thing in one
Mhm.
sitting, like I at least could tell myself that I did something that I wanted to do.
Yeah, okay.
Um, and also, not to mention, like it's a double album, and I kind of made that clear to people that it's like, two separate albums, so you don't really have to listen to it
All
all
in
in
one
one
sitting.
sitting. You
Okay. Yeah.
you c you can do it in, like, chunks, 10 tracks and then the other 10 tracks. So, um, I tried to make that a little bit more easier, when I was creating the track list. I was like, I think 10 for each project, was, like, ideal, amount of tracks, so
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, how do you know when a song is truly finished and ready to release? Like what is your like step-by-step process to get to the end? To be like, all right, this one is good to go. It's ready to go.
yeah, I guess it really depends on what song because, like, some songs, you hear it and you're like, "This is gonna be a hit if I, like, do everything right." You might think of doing visuals for it, maybe getting another artist on it, um, potentially, just going a little bit more crazy with the rollout, maybe putting a little bit more attention to the cover art than like just some basic cover.
Mhm.
But I would say that, the number one way that I usually am able to tell is if it's exactly or as close as possible to how I pictured everything in my head. And, once I visualize that and I see it towards the end of its process, then I know that it's ready to release. And then from there we start brainstorming, the marketing strategy and like how we could capitalize on rolling it out and really getting it in people's faces. So
Okay, okay. Now, we were talking about it earlier. You've had some insane features on your projects lately. How did those come together? Like, is it some like a situation where like you reached out to them? Like, did they have like, feature opportunities? How did those come along?
there's so many. I'll be I was gonna say I'll probably be here for a minute to talk about them, but I'll try and condense it as much as possible, just to kind of make it concise and all in one swoop. But yeah, so like people like Castro, I think he had an opportunity where he was just like willing to work with people, and I like reached out in like a cold DM, and I had reached out before because I had wanted to work with him,
Hmm.
several years prior to now, and I, basically just told him, I was like, "What would it take to, get you to do a feature on my project? I've really looked up to you all these years, and, it would just mean the world to get you involved and be a part of it." And he gave me a price, and I had the funds to, be able to do that at the time, and, then we discussed, like, meeting in Minnesota where he was at the time, and I ended up getting to fly out and work with him at his crib, and it was like one of the most unforgettable weekends because we ended up going to like the Mall of America, which is like I'm pretty sure the biggest mall in
In
America.
America,
I got
yeah, I think
to
so, yeah.
yeah, and I got to go shopping with him and just spend the day like doing normal, like, outside of music stuff, and then, he had his photographer out there, Taylor, do a free photo shoot for us, which was incredible.
That's so cool.
And yeah, I just got to like hear some unreleased stuff that nobody else has heard, both from him and a couple other people. I won't get too far into that because I don't know how much I should talk about. But um,
Yes.
I also worked with Six because of him, and he gave me another opportunity to have um, a placement on his album by hopping on the track that I released on my project called Already. That's the outro to his upcoming project that he hasn't announced yet.
Wow, that's awesome.
But
Yeah.
I was very, very blessed to be able to like hop on that because Six is literally like my favorite producer in music. So to
Six
be
is
able to do
goaded.
that at 20 years old
Yeah.
is like it's amazing.
Insane. Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, he didn't even know like that I hopped on it at first. Castro was just like, "Yeah, so like I was thinking you can hop on this one." And he was like, "What do you think of it?" And I was like, "Dude, like immediately I just like knew it was the one."
Yeah.
And I ended up getting close with Mike Hollins, who some of you may know is like Logic's previous manager. And he has a platform called Menti. It's a like artist development platform, but he also like helps artists grow through like camps and Zoom calls with people who are in the industry. And Six had like a call that you could submit to get on, and I ended up getting accepted into that call. And I went on there and I showed him the song because I didn't know if he had heard it yet.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Oh, this is my beat." And I was
Is that
like,
the clip that you posted the
"Yeah,
other day?
yeah,
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 okay,
yeah."
yeah, okay. Yeah, I did see that. I was like, that's sick. Okay.
And like, yeah, so he didn't even know. And he was like, "Damn, bro, you killed that shit." And I just like to hear that from my favorite producer. I was like, it's good.
Yeah.
Like, it's raps.
You're like, I'm doing something right. Like this is
Y-
yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's
yeah.
awesome.
So those were like those two. Getting Jason Griffith on my album was a pretty interesting story. I've always like looked up to him as like a voice actor from being a kid to like now. Obviously, I didn't know as a kid that it was a person voicing Sonic the Hedgehog,
Sonic.
but when I was when I was watching Sonic X as a kid, like I don't know, he just brought some spark to me. And I reached out to him on the app Cameo, which is like, an app where you can pay people to, do a happy birthday shout out to someone or like do motivational stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. And I like reached out to him on there and I gave him like the most probably weird request that he's ever gotten on there. I was like, could you like talk about what it means to like pursue your dreams and stay positive and how you apply that in your life? And I like use that for my album. And then like at first he was like, okay, this is different. But we ended up like messaging after he sent me the first like video, and he was like, "Is this like something you're looking for?" And I was like, "Kinda," but I was like, "I think there's a little bit of room for improvement." And he
Sorry.
like he ended up being more than happy to like do it.
That's awesome. Okay.
Um, and like on Cameo, you have to pay to send messages.
Yeah.
So like every time I had to like make sure I said everything I wanted to because it's like $3 to send a message. And he ended up like turning on free messages after a certain point because obviously like he's not trying to just like make me, constantly pay to have to text him.
Yeah.
Um, but he kinda, like, kept the door open, and he ended up sending, like, 2 more versions, and he was like, "I gave you 2 to pick from here,
That's awesome.
feel
Okay.
free to use either one." And I was like, "Dude, like, you don't know how much this means to me, like, I grew up, you know, playing the Sonic games that you voiced and also, like, watching them, so, like, this really means a lot more than you might think." And
It's like a
he
good
was
full
just very,
circle moment for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he was just very happy to have been able to help. And, um he made music at one
Oh,
point
okay.
too, so, like, it was kind of
Y'all bonded
funny
over
knowing
that?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, he was like, "Send me the album once it comes out," and I was like, "You want me to send you the album?" I was like,
Yeah,
all right,
alright.
I'll send you the album."
Damn,
But,
alright.
Yeah, so he's gonna kind of be like potentially the Steve Bloom to like my universe in music, I feel like, because I want him to do more with me, and I expressed that interest with him, and he seems to be pretty up for that. He's just
That's
busy
sick.
right now, he told me, so we're gonna like revisit that conversation in the near future once I'm,
Damn.
preparing for the next project and all
Okay,
that. So,
okay. All right, sir,
but
I see you. That's
yeah,
sick
yeah,
though. That
yeah.
is sick.
But yeah, so also like I'll just brush on the other people lightly. I had Taj Jordan, who was in Logic's Paradise Records movie. He's a drag artist and he's amazing. He goes by
Mm,
Flawless Shade.
yes.
Um, and yeah, he also like did some stuff on my project on the outro. I had a few YouTubers that I used to watch kind of shed light on. Okay, so like let me back up a little bit because the outro track on my double project, before the bonus track is called "Pursue Your Dreams and Stay Positive." That's my artist motto, and I wanted to use that song as like a way to show people that like if I can do it, they can. And so I
Yeah.
said to myself, I was like, let me get everybody that I love to look up to
Excuse me.
humanly possible to shed light on like what that means to them and then put that on the outro just to kind of like have a audio representation of that. So that's what I did. And I got Taj, I got Mike Collins, who recently had a partnership with me, and he's been working with me closely, almost like in a manager sense, to help me grow as an artist from the beginning of 2026 to kind of now. Um, and also, who else did I get? I feel like I'm gonna feel so bad if I miss a couple people. I got a few of my friends just because like they're really good friends of mine
Yeah.
and they also do stuff creatively and I thought it would be cool. But yeah, I did that and then I got, Jay Plaza, a few other people like JRB who was on Bobby Boy Records at one point and now he's making music on his own. Um, I might be missing a couple artists, but I don't want to go on forever. So
That's still really awesome though.
thank
Now
you.
you're constantly dropping music, right? I think it's like
Yeah,
every, is it 2 weeks? Every
two
2 weeks?
weeks.
Look at
Yeah.
that, is insane. Have you ever reached a point, and because how long have you been doing the every 2 weeks for?
I started in February and I plan on
Okay,
going until the end of this year.
this year. Have you reached that point of like burnout yet? Like, do you have these songs ready, or do you like create them as you go throughout the weeks? Like, what does that look like?
I'll be honest with you, it's changed a lot recently. I used to be the person that would have to be in like a certain mindset or like be in a certain feeling to really like get into the writing zone. And I used to also struggle with writer's block a lot
Yeah,
throughout my early years in my career, and it would kind of just be very sporadic, and I would just kind of allow myself to go at that pace
pace. Okay.
when y- realistically, I should be operating, I think, at a more faster pace. And this year, me and Ace, we kind of put our heads together, and he's just been amazing as like not only a person to help me grow, but also to just kind of put the battery in my back and really
Get you going.
just kind of be creative. And then watching him be creative makes me want to be creative. And so yeah, like lately it's just been like almost every other day, like he'll be cooking up something in the living room because we have the studio set up in our living room.
That was gonna be what I was gonna ask
And
too. I was like, do you guys have an in-house studio? Yeah.
yeah, and I'll just walk out of my room and like hear him making something, and I'll be like, keep playing that. And then I'll, write something and in like less than 3 hours I end up with a whole entire song. And
Wow.
it's been like that almost every other day, like I said, for the past couple of months. And now we're sitting on like almost 50 songs. So
Wow. Oh, so you're ready for your every 2 weeks. You got this on
yeah.
lock. That's
It's
awesome.
now it's just like curating it and being like, all right, what's the vibe for this week?
Yeah.
What's the best thing I could do this time? Yeah.
That's pretty sick. Um,
Yeah.
Now what do you think is harder for you? Staying creative or staying consistent?
Creative or consistent. I think staying consistent, because with someone who has like ADHD and anxiety, like I always am like a D1 overthinker about everything that I do.
Yep.
I'm very, black and white, calculated. I want things to be like done a certain way. And if it's not, then like I kind of self destruct. And I've been learning how to like learn that you need to like be able to adapt in life when change happens. And sometimes you don't always have a plan, but as long as you're able to do your best, that's what
Mhm.
matters. And this year has been a great reminder of that. So
Yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time just kind of doing my best to be consistent, but also test out ideas
Mhm.
and know that like if they don't feel right to me, that it's okay to change that kind of plan and do something different.
Okay. Okay. Now, we kind of touched a little bit earlier on your label. You said you have your own label, Mic Drop Records, right?
Yes.
What made you decide to create the label? Like um what is your day to day having your label look like right now? Like what has it done for you?
Um, I mainly I don't know, I knew how, like, a lot of my favorite artists had their own label that
Okay.
they released their music under, like, just to throw a few out there, like, I know Russ has his own label that he uses to release his music under, and Logic does too, um, and yeah, so, like, I saw how they were doing that and just the opportunities it gave them to kinda write off the things that they were doing with themselves because of it. And I was like, it's probably a smart thing for me to start an LLC, um, to be able to write off everything that I do for myself already. Because like for the last 5 years, I can't tell you the amount of things that I've done that could have been included in that, like I've just started being able to do. But I mainly did it for that, but
Okay.
also like it's in its early stages right now, but I definitely want in the future once I'm more financially like well off and such to, potentially bring on other people that,
Yeah. Okay.
I want to be a part of the collective to operate within Mic Drop Records and really just make it a big part of everything that I'm doing. So I think that business side of me really wanted to see what that's like and get dip my toes in the water, and so that's why I did that. But yeah, right now it's kind of just another page to
Your
promote
branding.
on a more official way, like
Yeah.
everything that I'm doing,
Okay.
um and also just to kind of operate as a platform to really help with everything that I'm investing in. So
Nice. And you answered my next question, which was, do you see yourself in the future getting more artists on, which you just mentioned. So that's honestly, I can definitely see you doing that.
yeah.
Let's see. So right now, at this stage that you're at, are you more so focused on growing your artist or more so focused on continuing to drop more music? Like what is your like are you obviously every artist wants to grow, right?
Mhm.
Right now with you putting out all these songs and stuff like that, what is your priority? Or they I mean, I feel like they're kind of intertwined. I feel like it's a dumb question now that I'm thinking about it. But
No, it's a great question. I definitely, Mike Hollins helped me really break it down this year. And he really just kind of gave me like a good blueprint to, run with for this year. But my biggest plan really with 2026 is to not only show like consistency, but also to grow my fan base and really find out who those people are.
Mhm.
um because as much as like I know I have people out there, it's really nice to be able to see like who's consistently showing up, and
Mhm.
also like who is going to be there to put their money into like the things that I'm doing, whether it's merchandise or shows or all these things, to, even if I am out of state from where they are or
Yeah.
even in the area. So um right, like this year we're just really focusing on building my fan base from the ground up, learning who those people are, and then kind of applying that to the things that I end up doing this year.
Okay. Now, what does success look like for you over the next year? You know, we've been talking about a lot of like the change that you've done. And where do you see yourself a year from now?
I think a year from now, I see myself in a certain workflow that, is evolved from even where I'm at now, where it's very just like rinse and repeat with making songs, even more so than it is now, to a point where it's just, seamless every time. I definitely see myself, or, hope to see myself being more comfortable, just performing and putting myself out there and being my biggest advocate
Yeah.
in public whenever it is like trying to, introduce people to my music who might not know, or being more present online. So those are definitely more of the major goals that I have for the next year.
Okay. Now, final question, and it's a question that I started adding to the artists that I sit down and speak to. Who is, you've already worked with a lot of people, but who is your dream artist to work with? Like, sky's the limit. Who is your dream artist to work with?
Okay. Well, there's a lot, but I'll probably like condense it down to like two, just because they're the ones that are alive and that I care about the most. um, so I will say Bruno Mars would be crazy.
Okay, yeah.
I would love to work with Bruno Mars. Um, I don't know how long that will take, but I'm manifesting that. And Logic, of course, like to get a feature from him would be, everything I've done until now, just come full circle. So, I'd be riding off a forever high if I got that
Yeah,
opportunity. And
absolutely.
I've wor- I've already gotten like very close to that feeling, because I've been very fortunate to have him hear my music on several occasions,
Mhm.
on the Discord that he started, that I believe you were kind of like a part of
Yeah.
or just like involved with. He ended up listening to my track Louis Screws with Castro before Castro hopped on it. And he gave me a rating, and he gave me a 6.5, but he was being super critical, and he even said that like it was good. Um, but and also that I had a good voice, which, made me feel really good. But um, I knew that, obviously, with it being a rough demo, that it didn't represent the song entirely in the best way. But also that there's always room for improvement. And so I didn't take that too personally.
Mhm.
Um, I also know that since then, I've done a lot to really analyze everything that I'm doing, and do my best to like improve with, my not my songwriting. I was gonna say just like bars and like wordplay and all this other stuff that we get so caught up in as artists. So
Okay. Well, Hyperion, that is the end of the interview. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit down with me and kind of go over some of these questions. It's always fun
absolutely.
listening to different people's insights and what they do. And you are so young and you have a whole future ahead of you. And I'm excited to see where that leads. I'm excited to see where that takes you. But I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much.
To wrap it up here, where can people find you? What's next for you? The floor is yours. Go ahead and talk about whatever you want.
Oh man. All right. So for all of those for those of you who want to find me, pretty much on every social media platform, it's Hyperion the rapper, just all one word. TikTok, Instagram, uh, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, like I'm on everything pretty much. So you can find me there, Spotify, Apple Music. I'm on every streaming service. Um, and then for this year, I'm really just planning on dropping music on a consistent basis. I'm really trying to work with as much people as possible, build relationships with people who I might have not had on my radar previously. continuing to build relationships with the people that I already do have um, on my radar. And also, I'm planning on trying to do a show in October, a really big one out here in Orlando. And I'm doing it with Garrett.
Okay.
Haven't really announced it yet, but we got it in the works and it's going to be pretty big. Um, we might try and pull some strings to get a certain someone to show up, and Castro is gonna probably end up being there too. So
Okay. Okay.
it'll be a special night.
Nice. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and once again, Hyperion, thank you so much for chatting with me. I will talk to you next time. All right, you guys, and that was Hyperion. Um, Again, the dude is insane. Has an absolute crazy future ahead of him. Um, y'all heard him, you know where to find him. And other than that, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you guys like it, subscribe, all the fancy schmancy things that you do after watching videos and like podcasts and stuff. Spotify, like it. I still don't know what you can do over there, but hey, I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.